On June 14th, 1962, Anna Elsa Slessers, age 56, was sexually assaulted and strangled to death in her own home. Police were baffled as no signs of forced entry were to be seen. To this day, police are still baffled by this case of the Boston Strangler. We have here.
She was merely having a nice night alone when suddenly he attacks. This is but one of the victims of the Boston Strangler.
Welcome to the murder night of the podcast. We're not doing a podcast. I don't know what we're calling it. Today's case is the Boston Strangler.
Most of the killings of the Boston Strangler were in, as the name implies, Boston, Massachusetts. There were 13 killings in total, but due to the nature of the killings, many were unsure of whether it was merely one or several. Because of the nature of these crimes, many dubbed them as the Silk Stocking Murderers, to refer to the groups of individuals that could possibly be performing such dastardly deeds. The killing stopped to June 14th, 1960. There were many people on the case of the Boston Strangler, the most notable group being the Massachusetts State Police, headed by Attorney General Edward W. Brooke. He led a police effort against the murderer or possible murderees. For some ungodly, stupid reason, though, he appointed a psychic to try and find the killer. This psychic was named Peter Herkos. Peter Herkos believed there was but only one killer and gave a detailed description on said possible killer. Unfortunately, being psychic doesn't do anything and isn't real. Sorry, children, but he was dead wrong, so unbelievably wrong, that Edward Brooke, who appointed him, got absolutely bonfoodled by the press. The public mostly believed it was only one person committing the crimes, but still thought Peter was kind of dumb. The police were all over the place, some thinking it's one, some believed multiple, but in their case, it was fair to assume the worst.
In the 1960s, evidence such as DNA, fingerprints, and blood testing did not even exist. The only thing to link these murders together was the way the victims all died, through the nylon stockings strangulation. The most damning evidence of all was a confession of one of the victims who we accidentally left alive. Her ability to describe the man eventually led the police to find the Boston Strangler, aka Albert DeSalvo. The victims are the following: Mary Mullen, age 85, died of a heart attack mid-assault. Anna Elsa, age 56, died from being raped and strangled with her bathrobe. Mary Ann Brown, age 69, was raped and beaten, strangled, and then stabbed to death. Beverly Simmons, age 26, was stabbed to death in her own home.
There were more victims than the one just foretold. Helen Blake, Ida Erga, Jane Sullivan, Sophie Clark, Patricia Jane Bullock Bissett, Marie Corbin, Joan Graff, and Mary Sullivan are extra victims who are all met the same fate: rape, sexual assault, and strangulation. Many people at the time marched tear gas and many other weapons out of fears of the killings. But God only knows what would happen next.
Bear the platypus who seemed to walk in on me being accused of 13 accounts of rape, sexual assault, and murder. You see, it all started back in my youth, June 14th, 1962. You see, you want to know how Phineas and Ferb got cancelled? Me. Milo Murphy's Law exists now because of me. That's why.
What you just witnessed is an accurate retelling of the murder of Albert DeSalvo. After being convicted in court for not being the boss's strangler, but that of the Grain Man, a separate killer running amok in Boston at the time, which people assumed was connected to DeSalvo after the witness report from the lady that DeSalvo had apparently assaulted. From her account, people connected it to this Green Man and claimed that DeSalvo was the same person. They could never be more wrong. After further investigation, it was found out that he was, in fact, the one, the only, Boston Strangler. After given nearly a life sentence to prison, he was finally put in jail after so long of running amok. He escaped one day, only to return back by his own will, by which then, uh, a fateful day, November 5th, 1973, he was stabbed like you just saw before our very eyes, by a man named Robert Wilson, a part of a gang within the prisons who reportedly stabbed him. He was put on trial for the murder only for a hung jury, which, if you are unknown as to what that is a jury that is split down the middle, a tie, if you will, from which nothing ever proceeds. From then on, Albert DeSalvo went on to be busy with his new occupation, being a bit dead. And that ends the tale of Albert DeSalvo. We may not know his true motives, what made him change his mind about things to go about and stop. They'll willingly come back to prison, but what we do know is the most important thing of all, the friends we made along the way. Oh, that. Welcome to the Murder Night 4. Here in this white void with an epic waterfall with nothing hidden behind it, we shall regale to you our thoughts and opinions on the Robert DeSalvo case. What are your thoughts on the case?
I believe that Robert Salvo's fate came to bite him in the butt with its full teeth bared. He got what he
My
deserved.
apologies for the interruption. My thoughts are pretty much the same. He was a rapist, murderer, and more of over 13 different people. If that isn't fate and getting back at him, I don't know what is. He was a horrible person, even if he did come back and maybe confess to crimes. What he did is horrible. I think many things could really repay for what he has done. That is the end of Murder Night 5. And with that, thank you for watching.